Yes, let's quickly look at the other elements of prose, which is very important. That's plots. All right. In our previous videos, we had looked at point of view. All right. We had looked at characterization. Now we are looking at plots, a crucial one. What is plots? Plot has to do with the way a story is organized. Just like poetry, the organization of a poem is called the structure, whereas it is divided into stanza and you know all that, lines and stanza for poetry. But for prose, the arrangement is referred to as plots. All right. Now, there is a basic difference between the plot and the story, according to Edward Morgan Foster. E.M. Foster actually wrote a book in the year 1927. All right, and he calls the book Aspect of the Novel. And in Aspect of the Novel, he makes it clear the difference between the story and the plot. To him, story is just a temporal ordering of events without emphasis on the reason why that thing happened. When you talk about a story, events are just arranged in order of which they happened. Orderliness is key to a story. Just like Monday coming before Tuesday, Tuesday before Wednesday, Wednesday before Thursday. That's how a story looks like. So in Edward Morgan Foster's Aspect of the Novel, he says that uh, the king and the queen died is different from the king and the queen died of grief. If you say the king and the queen died, it is a story. Why? Because it's possible the king died before the queen. So you are arranging in order of which their death occurred, but you've not told us the reason behind their death. So it's just a story. That's time ordering, temporal orderliness. All right. Now, but if you are going to convert that story to a plot, the process of changing a story to a plot is called plotting, and you must put reason for it to be converted to a plot. So you are going to have uh, the king and the queen died of grief. Okay, the king and the queen died of grief. So, what's the reason behind their death? Grief. What's the result of their grief? Death. Okay, now that was why Edward Morgan Foster says that in every plot structure, you must have two elements. What are they? Cause and effect. Cause is the reason why something happened. Effect is the result of what has happened. So if I say the king and the queen died of grief, eh, the reason why the king and the queen died is grief. So the effect of the grief is death. Okay, so that's that. So you can see that when you talk about plot, it talks about you know organization of a story in which events are connected. Okay, we call them causal connections. All the various stages are connected to make it a whole. Now, away from there, we are going to be talking about different types of plots based on the way it is arranged. We have two basic types of plots. A plot can either be linear or non-linear. When a plot is linear, it means that events are arranged chronologically in order of which they happened without emphasis on flashback or subplots. Okay, now if you say linear plot structure, the word linear from the word line, that means everything is arranged. For you to have a linear plot structure, avoid the use of flashback, avoid the use of subplot. What is even flashback? Otherwise called analepsis. Flashback is a recall to past events to shed light on the present situation. So if you are going to shed light on the past event to buttress what you are seeing right away, it means you would have broken the story. The story is no longer following sequential order because you've already broken the flow of the narrative. So the story is no longer linear. Another you thing you can use to break the flowing of a narrative is the insertion of what they call subplot, which is an independent minor story in itself. All right, independent minor story in itself is a form of digression that will take attention from the main story itself. So that also breaks the flow of the narration. Okay, so another name for linear plot structure is simple plot structure or organic plot structure because everything is organized effectively. Then the second type of plot structure is the non-linear plot structure. The non-linear plot structure, otherwise called the complex plot structure, or you call it the episodic plot structure. In this type of plot structure, events are not arranged chronologically, as the name implies. Events are not arranged chronologically. Emphasis is laid on flashback, subplot, or both. You're telling a story, then you pause to recall to past events, then the natural flow of the story is already what? Broken. You're telling a story, you make reference to another short story, which is the minor plot. Within the major plot, you would have broken the flow of the narration. Okay, that's that. Then away from there, we have types of nonlinear plot structure. A plot structure is said to be nonlinear, as I've said, when it is not arranged chronologically, and it can be categorized into the following. A nonlinear plot structure can be a media res, where the story is begun from the middle. Alright, when the story starts from the middle, that's not chronological. Call it a media res. And then when the story starts from the end, alright, or when the ending of a story is also the beginning, it is cyclical. That means things are working in cycle. Alright, that's nonlinear plot structure type called the cyclical plot structure. Then we also have the last one called the what do they call it? We refer to it as compound plot structure. Compound plot structure has to do with two stories running concurrently. Alright, two stories running concurrently, and in that case now, your attention is divided. It's not one story that is flowing, so it's another type of you know non-linear plot structure.